Kafi, Volume 6, compromises food, animals, rites of passage, divorce, $10,241 to $10,279 talks about how great it is to have a female child, how great it is to have a male child, certain things about their raising, the akika, where you cut the hair and name the child, and you try to give it the weight of its hair in silver or gold. Say call the prayer in its ears and all that. Remembrance if you don't have a child. 10,293 talks about how when Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali ibn Talib was born, it was said to, get all the women out of the house because they shouldn't be the first to see his naked genitals. So the same sex should be the first to see the child. 10,311 to 10,313 say that first you don't have the kunya, the parenthood name, like Abu Isa, Abu al-Hakam, Abu al-Malik, Abu al-Qasim, if the name is Muhammad. So the middle two are you don't, so the name of God isn't your firstborn, that sort of thing. Because people are going to, now if it's Abdul Hakim or Abdul Malik, that's different. And then in the middle you have a narration here that says that you don't use the names Harith, Malik, and Khalid. Well, the Sunnis use the word, at least the latter two. And Abu Murrah, I'm not sure what that means. That's also not a name to use, because that's the fatherhood name of Satan. 10,337 narrates that the Thiqatu, the separating ceremony, is the same for the male and the female. 10,354 narrates that the the nurse that helps give birth and care for the woman should be given, a hip and a leg of the sacrificial animal. 10,365 narrates that the mother isn't to be given anything of the meat of the akika. But remember, it's, just because the word akika is being mentioned doesn't mean that a certain practice that is often associated with it on the 8th day of life in the Jewish tradition doesn't mean that, this is practice. Muhammad is never quoted in this book or others to have taught it or to have had it done. 10,391. If a child on the 7th day dies after the early afternoon prayer, then the akika is obliged. If before, not. 10,394 is that you don't shave certain parts of the head and leave other parts. 10,406 to 10,426 say that you can hire somebody to breastfeed. But you don't hire a Zoroastrian, and you don't allow people the book who are hired to be wet nurses to use intoxicants. And you don't involve the ones that have been used in fornication. Now, it doesn't say prostitution, so it's wider than that. Now we know more of the dangers in regard to that sort of thing. And must be clean otherwise. And the children at the age of 9 are called towards doing the ritual prayers. The ones at 10 are separated when they sleep. And at 14, according to 10,426, when they have their nocturnal emissions, or they have the growth, but it's thought at the age of 22 there's a growth of reason. The growth of reason is thought to stop at 28, except as far as their experience. Their length stops at 22, but their accountability in other narrations is 13 for a female, 15 for a male, if the signs have been seen. It's not as clear in Kafi about that matter, but it is, rather clear endeavor there. 10,435 is about the instruction of children in the prayer, that they combine them like the traveler prayer, and that they have, as long as they have evolutions, and that they get busy in case they get busy or something. So the dawn prayer is by itself, the afternoon prayers are together, and the evening and dusk prayer. So this is how we initially get children trained towards that. 10,454 talks about how you involve children in difficult tasks so that they can be forbearing and maybe even expert at it when they get older. And it's not proper to do otherwise. You find that with learning and all sorts of other things. A lot of people who enjoy their life much better or at least accomplish more in all areas of life. Well, I guess not all areas of life. I guess it's not so guaranteed. 10,465 says that the most hated of things that are lawful is the divorce. So, yeah. Because some people get divorced as hastily as people who are uncontrolled eaters, sorts of thing. Like people getting divorced 3 times in a sitting, trying that sort of thing. Of course, the Shia tradition kind of breaks away from allowing that. It's like, well, that's one divorce. You need to, anyways. But if you're already getting a divorce, why in the world every month you're getting another divorce just to make it final or something? 10,474 lets us know that it's better to get divorced than it is to curse one's spouse. And prayers like that aren't returned favorably if one is unjust to one's spouse. I'm not sure if we've already passed over that, but similar things have been said towards the family, the disrespect and disobedience to parents. But as far as what's right, you do disobey parents. You do disobey your spouse. You do, but the whole cursing thing, it's better that, it's done on a conditional matter. Conditional as in if they, like, it keeps them from doing evil, or it's brings, if they're kept from doing evil or brought towards good, but maybe the cursed wouldn't, 10,487, pray for people to be guided. And it talks about the divorce that's not done Islamically, and, people don't know them, then it's not considered valid. Just like I draw the distinction between legal marriage. I call legal marriage civil union, whether it's heterosexual or whatever. If it's not according to religious principles, 10,498. Let's it be known that you can't accidentally divorce someone. 10,575 to 10,586. A divorce isn't final with a pregnant woman until she's given birth. If that what happens first. And that involves stillborns and that sort of thing. Now, if the regular waiting period hasn't transpassed, then that's, it's said that even if she's divorced that hour, then some people would say, there is narration that says that she is divorced. So, and if the marriage wasn't consummated, then she can, remarry as soon as she's divorced. There's no need for a waiting period. And, if it's set for her, she gets, if her dowry is set, then she get half of it. Remember, in the Islamic tradition, it's women get the dowry. There's no bride price and all that. 10,619. Now, if a woman's not experiencing menstruation, we're referring to women here, of course, then it's the equivalent of 3 periods. And unless she's committed some indecency or something like that, then it's not, she's not to be driven out, and she's not to leave, per se, without permission. Because obviously reconciling is be given its fair opportunity. 10,624 points out that this can be included if she's doing behavior to trouble the man and his family. Then she can be turned out as such. 10,628. Divorce is when a woman's not menstruating. And if she's not menstruating regularly, every other time, and if people are waiting for a year, then, 3 months can be said. And if he dies by that time, then the woman can inherit as she would have inherited. So the 15 months there. And 10,656 regards how sometimes it's obligatory to benefit a divorced woman. And one of the things that we must remember when it comes to the inheritance laws and that sort of thing is that the financial obligation is not on the woman. If she provides for herself, it's even considered to be a charity. Now, her needs. Often women will work because there's something they want in regards to their working. And 10,000, well, I mean, not so much nowadays, but yeah, 10,666 to 10,668. Well, that starts with an interesting one, because the father is given as the dowry, and so the woman would return 1,000. But if they've not consummated, then she has to return 300. And if it's said that, oh well, he's not worth as much as the dowry was said, well then that word doesn't hold any grounds there. It's about the amount that's agreed. Now, if there's a dowry of 1,000 and the woman remits it, and he divorces her, then he owes, the half to her. But if she's the one who divorces, then she returns the half that she didn't give. 10,674 to 10,682 says that when it comes to the legal penalties, divorce, bathing in regards to sexual activity, if the organs touch each other, then that becomes an obligation. Did I say the dowry? But if all they do is kiss, then no. Now, I mean, kiss face to face, obviously. The hand is also included in that. Unless, when you're checking each other out, you discover something that wasn't disclosed. And then we have the aspect of the woman who wasn't informed. So her waiting period begins once she's informed. And that includes divorce and death and all that. 10,619. I mean 10,697 is, if a woman's husband dies and then she's informed. 10,755 points out that the divorce of a child and the divorce of an intoxicated person doesn't count. Now, as we will learn through certain matters in the Quran and in some of the narrations, is that the child marriages aren't consummated while they are children. And they're not held accountable for, beforehand. Things are returned and whatnot, all that stuff. 10,760 reminds us that in regards to the insane and, confused, startled, people are gonna say something. Divorce and setting slaves free, and I guess maybe even big property agreements, that sort of thing, are not considered valid. Although the big property agreements, that would be analogy. So, 10,763. The sick with a vocally related condition. The coerced and those with a mental condition that would interfere. Same goes for them. 10,776 says that if a man can't speak, then he can go and place the headscarf on the wife's head and take it off as a gesture representing that. 10,783. Again, as we said earlier, there has to be intention to divorce. Points out that you can have an attorney when it comes to divorce. 10,799 points out that you can only be in the whole swearing thing, against if you've consummated the marriage, if you've swearing off your spouse when you're not engaged in that, it's nothing, and it's superfluous. That's 10,811 is about how it's not permissible to just abandon the affairs of a woman towards her in her own hands. That as the husband, you're supposed to stay involved. 10,818. The woman who is getting divorced says to the husband that she's not going to honor his term or his orders, won't bathe because of sexual intercourse, won't sit on his furnishing, and will give permissions without his permission. And the statements have to come from her. And this is, the payment, the woman gives back the payment. So obviously not going to have marital relations, and not going to obey the husband, and not going to use his means. And, then she's ready for divorce. 10,827. Points out that, until such statements are going to be taken back, then it's not lawful for a woman to be married to him again. And I would, a lot of this is, you don't necessarily have to go to the narrations. You can look at the Quran and make a lot of these conclusions, but it's much easier with the text, and makes the matters clearer, because certainly the Quran makes the point that the Prophet had inspiration too. It wasn't just quoting the Quran. Rashid Khalifa and people like this don't have the grounds. There's but the Prophet, speaking about religion, wasn't speaking about his own opinion, that sort of thing. But it's clear he said stuff like, well, I like this food or this clothes and that sort of thing, and I don't, but the ethics, that's a different matter. 10,858 refers to the woman with a missing husband. After 4 years, she starts her waiting period like he died, 4 months and 10 days. And if he returns before that, okay. But after that, they don't have to count that as a divorce or anything. But his rights as a husband has kind of stepped aside. But he should be searched for and inquired for and all that. 10,862. if people lie to a woman and say that her husband's been deceased, and somebody marries her, and then the husband returns, then after the waiting period, the husband, the dowry is paid to the husband in that case, for the deceit. And did I say that the people undergo their penalty in that regard, right? So are they punished? Are both people punished for the case of fornication, or that's not 10,866 says that if a man becomes crazy after marriage, a woman can separate from him. 10,913. The condemnation, in regards to the accusations of one spouse against another, is led by somebody with their back towards the Qibla, and the man is on his right and the woman is on his left. 10,921 is that if a man's speechless and the woman has accused him, then, they're not lawful for each other. And, if they've done the cursing. And the same thing, in the Sunni tradition too, if you've cursed each other, saying, oh, the one's committed adultery, and, don't just assume stuff. Keep accusations about which you don't have proof to yourself. Maybe you can look into them, but, be very careful what you accuse people of, at the very least. I mean, that's a side note. But 10,957 regards the dogs and falcons of Zoroastrians and people of the book and that sort of thing. If a Muslim has trained it or released it in the name of God, then these hunting animals can be, if Islamic principles are followed, the name of God is invoked over it, and it's not been slaughtered by the people of the book or something, you could say, that becomes edible. Now, it says in the Quran that the chaste women and their food are lawful towards us, so that's, let's fast forward a little bit here to 11,111. Reminds us that the food of the people of the book is not lawful unto us just because it's the food of the people of the book. The mention of God and God alone needs to be invoked in the matter. 10,980 says that we shouldn't eat the prey that has been stoned or, balls been thrown at it. Now, bullets pierce, so as long as we're not using lead or something, it can be said to be different. But yeah, the stoning of the animals is not allowed as a slaughter method. 10,984 says that the entrapped part, like the teeth of the snare, that part of an animal is considered as dead meat, but the rest of it you can eat if you slaughter it before it dies. Says that we shouldn't take baby birds from their nests at night, and we shouldn't kill birds in their sleep. Their sleep by night. It's not permissible to take part in the, the scooping up dead fish and that sort of thing through nets and consecration by, polytheists. But if fish are caught alive in a net, that's a different story. Eels, al-Zimmer, and al-Marmahal apes, pigs, wildcats, lizards, and others were forms that some of the disbelievers were turned into. And let us remember that it's about following the revelation and the inspiration, having the consciousness before, during, and after. The rest is details.